on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome into another episode of the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Show, a proud member of Underdog and the Underdog Fantasy family. And guess what? Just because the fantasy season has kicked off for baseball doesn't mean you still can't get those last-minute drafts in. If you use promo code TRIPLE, you'll get a $100 deposit match up to $100 over at Underdog Fantasy. Again, they will double your first deposit up to 100, so 50 to win 50, 100 to win 100. Make sure you check them out and get your fantasy drafts in today as the season is getting going. Speaking of the season getting going, boys, this episode is technically while the season's going, but it's still our My Guys episode, our signature Myspace top 8, one of our signature favorites here over at Triple Play, getting our stamp on our guys for this season. Marty, Party, and Doc with me tonight. Marty, you pumped, man? Let's go.
Man, I could not be more excited. It was a day I had 5 games going on at once while I should have been working. It does not get better than that. And I forgot his name, but someone tweeted, "Who do you think is going to get the first home run of the season? I'll Venmo you $10."
Yes.
I immediately
answered.
Colin from
Fantrax. They call him yeah.
Who's a good dude. Him and I actually, because I passed up on the $10. I'm like, dude, don't worry about it. But I said Mike Trout, and as we all know, Mike Trout went yard off Corbin Burns for the only run of the or one of the few runs against the Orioles. But yeah, I'm pumped. It's the best. It's one of the best days of the year.
Yeah, a lot of great things so far in the first game, and we're still not even through all the games today. Corbin Burns looked like every bit the ace the Orioles traded for, 11 strikeouts in 6 innings. Tariq Skubal looked like the potential Cy Young winner in the American League, just how he pitched, 6 scoreless innings and 6 strikeouts. Cole Reagans looked pretty decent against the Twins, even though he gave up 3 runs, had 9 strikeouts in 6 innings himself. Pablo Lopez was dominant again. Trout hits a home run. Paul Goldschmidt, who I really wish was one of the players I had picked for this, because I actually had read that he had been working on getting quicker bat speed this offseason, and 3 for 4 in his first game. I think definitely thinks that his draft price was a significant discount this year.
Tyler Glasnow had a great game.
Tyler Glasnow had a great game. We could go on and on. There's so much from the first day that we can get into. But we're going to save all our takes for the fantasy season for next week. Obviously, that will be our week 1 episode, kind of once we have the first few days to a week or so in the rearview mirror, and we can kind of assess things in the fair way we should. For now, though, as I mentioned at the top of the show, it's our top 8, our Myspace top 8. This is our version of our My Guys episode here at Triple Play. No art tonight, so instead of 32 guys, it will
Did we lose David?
It will be 24. We did lose David. So we're going to talk about our.
Am I back?
There he is.
Oh, my God. My connection is not good right now. All right. So without further ado, let's get into our guys, our top 8. And Marty Party, you have the first 8 in the chat. So I'm going to let you kick off.
Yeah.
Give us one of your guys right now.
I have to start off with the guy who I have rostered on 83% of my teams, Logan Gilbert, Seattle Mariners starting pitcher. In most drafts, I got him as my second in 15-team leagues. I got him as my second SP. More drafts than I'd like to admit, I got him as my number 1 SP. That's if I went hitter in the first 3 rounds. He was the guy who I considered my ace for the team. So his 116 stuff plus, a 101 location. He went 190 innings last year. So I expect him somewhere around that 180 mark. His ERA is going to be a little inflated. I think around 3.6, 3.7 is what to expect, but a low whip. I think he's going to get plenty of wins. I love the ballpark. And where he's stationed, like I said, he's the guy I have the most. So he's my ride or die. If he has a really bad year, then I may have a really bad year. So we'll see.
Wow. So what was the initial attraction for you?
Just, number 1 is stuff plus, right? I love his ability to mix all his different pitches, and he has a really good location. I've talked about it a lot, how much I love playing in Seattle.
Yeah.
It's the ballpark with the most strikeouts. It's very spacious. The ball does not fly there. And the Mariners, they should be a playoff team, right? So I'm expecting double-digit wins in a quality start league. He probably will get double-digit quality starts, and it's mostly his price. I mean, of course, I'd rather have Webb or Scooble, but it just the way I drafted, I went hitting heavy first because pitching is such a crapshoot these days that I ended up with Logan Gilbert the most.
6 of your 8 guys are hitters. So I think that speaks volumes for how you're drafting this year, to say the least.
Yeah, I took pitchers where they fell.
So before we move on, then Marty, we'll go 2 and we'll go to the next year. Let's talk about your other pitcher here, Hunter Brown, who I will admit we had a Hunter Brown Christian Javier debate, and I was firmly the Christian Javier camp. Since that episode, I've very much teetered in the middle between them, and I'm now firmly stuck.
Yeah, and we had this talk. I think Christian Javier has a higher floor, right? And I think Hunter Brown has the highest ceiling. And with Brown, he's usually my SP4 or SP5 if I did things right. 101 stuff plus 101 location. I think he's getting better and better. I think this year we should expect around a 3.5 ERA. If he keeps doing what he's doing, 28% strikeout rate, I think that's in there. And then again, we go to the team. Searching for wins on the waiver wire is so difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And to have as many pitchers as I can on these elite teams like the Houston Astros, it's going to lead me to wins. It's going to be one less thing I'm going to have to worry about. And I believe there's untapped potential for Hunter Brown, where he's going in the draft. It's usually just people who are, pitchers who are very established. And I like kind of taking the upside there.
He really looks like a different pitcher for what everybody's talking about him this year. I will add also with the Javier, because Javier I've mixed into my guys as well. I brought up about Javier's weight loss and how that really seems like it's affected his mechanics in a positive way. And he looked like a much better pitcher in spring training. So I was buying into the narrative that I've read all offseason that the extra weight really felt like was hampering his delivery. And that's, I think, why he was struggling, not just with giving up runs, but his location. And it seems like in spring training, judging by his ERA and judging by the strikeouts that seem to be back, that he should be, maybe he's not going to be a Cy Young contender, but definitely a value where you're getting him. So those two Houston Astro pitchers going in, at least NFBC, they were going pretty much around the same ADP. I think both of them are nice values where you're getting them. The other pitcher that I wanted to bring up here before I go to Doc, Tanner Bybee, who LC I know is a huge fan of. I'm a huge fan of. Doc, I didn't put him on his list, but I know
I just don't want
you're
to
a huge fan. But you like Tanner Bybee as well.
I mean, I have money on him winning the Cy Young, so yes.
Yeah. I mean, last year, a 2.98 ERA in his rookie season, finished third in the AL Rookie of the Year voting, a 118 whip. 24% K rate isn't going to blow you away. Neither is the fact that his fastball was not where it needed to be. But a 12.4 swinging strike rate will play, 28.8% CSW. If you talk to people that are really advanced in pitching, the Nick Pollocks of the world and others like that, they will point out about his fastball and how hittable it was. And that's obviously going to be a problem because last year he threw his four-seamer 47% of the time. And if your most hittable pitch is your fastball and you're using it almost 50% of the time, eventually I think it's one of those things that it's going to catch up to you. But I look at it at the other side of the token here, judging just from the fact that he still had an above average ground ball rate and judging by the fact that there are still a lot to like with his fastball. And I think it's one of those things that if he decreases, if for some reason the four-seam fastball does not come out as more effective this year, which keep in mind, his four-seam fastball was effective enough last year where the league saw him for pretty much 3/4 of the season. So it wasn't one of those things. It was just a glimpse. They got a chance to hit his fastball all year, and they still weren't hitting it to where he still kept a sub-3 ERA. I think his fastball can only go up from here, and even if it's still hittable, I think he can mix in more of his secondaries. He can throw his slider more than 27% of the time. He could throw his changeup more than 17% of the time. Those pitches had very, very good metrics on those two pitches. So I think Tanner Bybee has a nice floor, and I don't think his ceiling's been fully utilized yet. and I think potential a Cy Young, could we say Cy Young votes could be in his future. So I like him. 142 innings last year in the bigs, 160 combined between both levels. So he should be in line for 180 plus innings this year for a team that specializes in developing pitching. It's, to me, Tanner Bybee is my favorite guy this year in terms of all the ones I'm going to list.
I mean, when we look at the pitchers in the AL as well, obviously Garrett Cole was hurt to begin in the year. Kevin Gausman might miss a start. I mean, who's really the favorite for the Cy Young? I feel like a lot of the pitching is stacked in the NL. There's Corbin Burns, there's Luis Castillo, Tariq Skubal, and Cole Reagans are popular breakouts, but all those guys are kind of a dice roll as well. And Bybee's a dice roll in himself, but obviously the odds are worse. I know we're talking about a Myspace top 8 compared to, betting favorites, but I think with Bybee, like, him being on a good team in a bad division and one that helps specialize with pitching definitely benefits him.
Eric, do you remember what we got him at in terms of
I got him at plus 15,000. I don't know what you got him at. So that's 10 to win 1,500.
That's what I got him too. Guess what his odds are now?
Probably like half of that.
That your guess, plus 7,500?
I'm realistically going to guess plus 6,500 on the book you use.
All right, I'm on FanDuel right now.
Okay, on FanDuel, I'm going to say plus 6,500.
Marty?
I could not have less of a clue. I have no. I'll say 5,500.
It is plus 4,000 now.
Yeah.
So the market has really moved on Tanner Bybee now. We got it in nice and early. Shout out to my guy.
That's because
Andy.
Cole got hurt. Cole changed everything.
Yeah.
Well, Cole got hurt, but
there's nothing else to base it on.
He jumped up a lot of pitchers. He jumped up ahead of, these were pitchers I know for a fact were ahead of him when we did it. Rodon was ahead of him. Hunter Brown was ahead of him. Brian Bayo was ahead of him.
Kyle Bradish was probably ahead of him.
Christian Javier, Jose Barrios, Tristan McKenzie was ahead of him.
That's wild.
He jumped a lot of people like that were ahead of him when we bet this. I think there's something out there in the waters, Doc. I think we got this again. Shout out to my guy Andy, who first on the Cy Young aspirations.
We hit this and we retire.
I wish I had put more on it. That's honestly what will happen. Doc, go ahead and give us two of your guys.
Yeah, so the first one is a guy that I'd been tiding about all offseason, and it was even before the trade, and that was Dylan Cease as well. I felt like where you were getting him was a very good value, a guy that's an innings eater. Last year, 177. The year before that, 184. The year before that, 166. And the upside was that he was going to get traded to a good team. And I know that the White Sox asking price was high, but you see some teams balk last minute. The Diamondbacks did it with Jordan Montgomery. The Giants did it somewhat last minute with Blake Snell. And you hope that the White Sox had a decent enough management team to trade Dylan Cease because they realized they weren't contending. But even if they weren't, you were getting a guy that was giving you great strikeout potential, giving you a lot of innings. Hopefully he was going to get you some wins. I mean, I know he had 7 last year, but he had 27 the previous 2 years combined. And I know the walks had been an issue, but just someone with ace potential. David, I know you've been touting him for a while. And if you bought low, then you're getting someone that goes to a better ballpark that is getting a team that's going to give him more run support. And even teams that have been drafted since, David, I took him in the second round or in the 4th round of our 12-team draft. And some people thought it was a reach, but I think he's one of those rare workhorse guys that you can get that you don't have to spend a top 2-3 round pick on.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I mean, the change in scenery is going to be huge. The better ballpark, the better lineup back behind him. I think everybody can say you take even just the dark cloud that hangs playing for the White Sox right now and just what it does mentally for you. I think all those things help him out. Take that with his strikeout stuff. I think as long as he limits the walks, sky's the limit for him. Obviously we've seen he's one of the safer bets for 200 strikeouts. Probably, I would say you could put him in as probably one of the top 5 or 6 guys to get strikeouts this year. The floor is there for him. He's just got to reach his ceiling, which is the limit walks and be consistent.
Yeah, and I think when you don't feel comfortable taking a guy in round 2, when you're drafting him, you feel like at his ceiling and you haven't seen it for years in, years out, you get a little bit hesitant. But when you see that flash of that upside and you can get him in the 4th or 5th round, that's a guy I'm more attracted to. And just staying with pitching, but going to the relief side, I've tried to get Josh Hader in every draft. I've put some money on him to lead the league in saves. We've seen a lot of closers have gone down with Devin Williams. Johan Duran is out about a month. Jordan Romano is beginning the season on the IL. And the Astros made a move for him. I know he might not get all of the saves because they have Ryan Presley, but I just look at somebody from a ratios perspective, a 1.28 ERA last year. I mean, the strikeouts per 9 hover around 13 to 15. He's had 30 or more saves the last 4 full seasons, and he hasn't showed any sign of regression. So, you know how people used to take saves in the 2nd round last year? They were drafting Edwin Diaz and Josh Hader. Saves are still a premium. It's not like stolen bases where the rules change. So I think if you can get, hopefully a workhorse guy that's going to give you great ratios on a team that's going to get a lot of wins, that's still a premium, and you don't have to draft it this year.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's definitely a nice value there for that. Give us your second guy there, Doc.
That was my second guy, Josh Hader.
Oh, I'm sorry, you tied into the Josh Hader.
Josh Hader and Dylan Cease, both guys that have had, off the field stuff swirl their cloud of judgment.
Yeah. All right. Well, Marty, let's go back to you then. Let's give us 2 more of your guys.
All right, I'll start with Jeremy Pena. So where he's going in the draft, he's the 21st shortstop off the board. ADP over the last month of 224. Just to put that into context, Ezekiel Tovar is 183, and Carlos Correa is just behind him at 236. Another one of those guys I have on almost every one of my teams. I love him, not for your shortstop, for middle infield. At this point, you should have already gotten one of those top 10 stud shortstops, and you need somebody to fill in that middle infield position, especially for a 15-team league. I look to his steamer projection, 18 home runs, 13 steals, batting .264, 72 runs, 72 RBI. So he's a positive in almost everything. Little light on the powers. Potential. It's possible for him to really dip into pulling the ball and maybe get that 21, 22 home runs. I heard some people, even said, it's possible he's a 2025 guy. I'm not going to go there, but I could see him hitting, potentially 20 home runs, 15 stolen bases, batting around 270. And for where he's going to play every single day. He's got a great glove. He has a projected WRC plus of 102. So he's more than he's a positive player on top there. And again, he's in the Houston Astros lineup. I love that lineup. Tons of power, tons of, the last thing I wanted to say on that, he has moved to the back of the order. Last year, he was usually batting second, first or second, depending on injury. Now he's like 7, 8, 9. And I actually kind of like that for him. One, it takes the pressure off him. He's going to see more fastballs, I think, at that point. And also, if you are in the 7, 8, 9 slot, you are more willing to run than in first, second, and third slot on this team for the Astros specifically. There's no reason to run you, if you got Jordan, behind you. They're not going to waste that potential out. So I think he's going to have a little bit more freedom. I think there's going to be less pressure on him to come back like last year where he had that great playoff. So everyone thought he was going to be incredible, and he fell a little bit. I think most people would say that. Only 10 home runs, 13 stolen bases last year. But for where he's going, he's going to play every single day. He's going to accumulate those stats. 2015. That's what I'm hoping for.
Marty,
is there a big reason? Go ahead, Doc.
I was going to say, I just want to jump in. That's a guy that I had been touting, and I have in all of my drafts. The power can be there. The first half of the season in 2023, he had 10 homers in 80 games. He had 0 in the final 69 games. And I think the overall.
I think an injury or something.
I think he kind of just changed his approach because he hit 10 homers batting 246 the first half, and he hit 284 with 0 home runs in the second half. So it seemed like he was settling more for a batting average type rather than selling out for power. I think there needs to be a medium for that. And I think the recency bias, he hit 200 with 8 hits and an RBI and a run in 11 games in the 2023 postseason. That's unfortunately the most recent sample size we see with him. But I brought this up when we had talked about middle infielders. Dusty Baker, although he's no longer the Astros manager, said he really sees that Jeremy Pena is going to take a step up next season, and that he has the star potential to be kind of the next generation for the Houston Astros when Altuve and Bregman start to phase out. So I love the value you're getting Jeremy Pena at this year.
And last thing I'll say on that is even from 2022 to 2023, he decreased his strikeout rate by 4% and he nearly doubled his walk rate. So he's seeing the ball better now. Now he's 26 years old. Can he tap into that power? And if so, he's a top 10, a back of the top 10 shortstops. Maybe top 12. If he dips into that.
Fair enough with that. Hopefully he bounces back after last year, which I know was disappointing for many that did have high hopes for him after his amazing postseason run. Marty, the next guy.
Oh, Anthony Santander. He hits dingers. That's why I like him.
He had 4 RBIs today on opening day, too.
He hit a bomb. Yeah, I have him in 66.6% of my teams. So 2/3 of every one of my teams has him on there. I think where he's going, he's a good bet to hit you 35 home runs and not kill you in batting average. And he's going to accumulate tons of RBI. That Baltimore offense is incredible, 1 through 5. I think he's underrated for what he does because he just hits home run and he's not flashy in that that lineups. Everyone loves the Baltimore Orioles lineup, but no one really talks about him. He's kind of the unsung hero who only hits 4th. I mean, he's their guy to clean up. So the RBI are going to be over 100, probably 120, I'd guess.
Yeah, like you said, he just kind of is the one that's forgotten about, the least sexy of the group. But 30 home runs, 90 plus RBIs, I think is pretty safe to say with him, and it's a pretty good value where you get him. I agree. Anthony Santander is the guy that you're like, he's there, I'll take him, but he produces and maybe if he was a different name, maybe people were more excited to take it. But
no, especially if you went heavy in pitching or you went heavy, you were more focused on stolen bases, and all of a sudden there's a guy that can hit you 30 home runs who's going to play every day in a great lineup.
Yeah,
it's pretty easy.
Speaking of great lineups, that is actually not a transition I was ready to go to. Kyle Harrison is going to be not in a great pitching lineup, but he's the guy that I'm going to bring up next year. I have him on every single one of my teams this year. Kyle Harrison is someone I'm buying back big on this year for him he was touted as a top end prospect as high as I think he was inside the top 30. I know he was definitely inside the top 50, and he was the San Francisco Giants' top 2-3 prospects over the last few years. He was one of the nastiest pitchers in the minors. We're talking about like 15K per 9. Like he was that guy that looked like he was just the competition was just couldn't handle him. But the control is something that's always been an issue for him. And that was kind of what we saw a glimpse of in the end of his first big league season. Even though he did finish the year, it was not as bad as you would think. This is overall numbers last year. But if you look how he finished the year, 5 scoreless innings with 4 strikeouts his last outing. Basically in his last I'm looking at right now. So you look at starting August 29th. He goes 6.1 scoreless innings with 11 strikeouts. That was when he kind of got put on the map in terms of like, oh shit, we got to pick this guy up. Blows up in his next start, 6 earned runs. After that, 3 earned runs, 3 earned runs, 2 earned runs, 0 earned runs. I think he really started turning a corner there. Is he going to be an ace? I don't think so, but you're getting him. He was going after pick 200 on NFBC. And one of the reasons I really like him this year is he went to a program called Push, which if you want to know what Push is, I actually had the notes on that. But basically, they're talking about this program that helped him. It's kind of like the similar to Driveline type of aspect to it. But Logan Webb has been taking him under his wing, if you will. Just like how Logan Webb said that he had that done to him from Kevin Gausman. And so he was the one that pushed him. See what I did there? Pushed him to go to Push. And the result was he added 3 miles per hour to his fastball. Not only did he add 3 miles per hour to his fastball, but he also this spring threw it 60% of the time, which last year that was in the 40s. So he upped the usage of his fastball and mixed results to it. overall, he actually had 4 spring training outings, and only one of those was not good. 2 scoreless innings, 4 strikeouts. He had 2.1 innings, 1 earned run, 5 innings, 1 earned run, 5 strikeouts, and then his last outing, he did give up 4 earned runs in 3.1 innings, but did have 6 strikeouts. The walks are still an issue, so that's something that needs to be cleaned up. The walks aren't going away, but this is a guy that has high upside going where he's going. And if before the Blake Snell trade, he was, or the signing, he was the number 2 pitcher in their rotation. So let that sink in for a second. They had Logan Webb, and then Kyle Harrison was the 2. Now he's going to be the 3 with Blake Snell. Obviously, starting the year, Kyle Harrison will be the 2 because Snell is not ready to pitch yet. But he's still going to get a lot of opportunity in this rotation. So he is the guy that I think has a lot of value where he is, and you should try to draft him for your fantasy team. I would try not to take him higher than your like SP5. You should be able to get him around there, but he's a good value.
Yeah, going to have a better hitting lineup than last year. David, I can just tell you're tired because early in your soliloquy, you dropped the S-bomb.
I did?
Yeah, when you'll have to replay this, you said, after his 11 strikeout game, you go, "Oh shit, we need to pick him up."
Did I say that really?
Yeah.
Duh, that's hilarious.
We should keep a tally counter of how many times we cuss, no matter what the word on here. And see who.
That is, I think, the first time I've cussed and I haven't realized it.
That's how I know you're tired.
Yeah. Joe, our buddy Joe, Art's brother, asked, did we touch on the Justin Steele leaving early? Yeah, it's a hamstring injury, so we're obviously don't know anything right now, but it didn't look good from what I've heard already, which sucks because I drafted him in our home league. He's my SP2. So that's not a good start for that. And Royce Lewis left early with a hamstring injury too. So my team's already knocking down.
Welcome back to baseball.
Yep. Buster just confirmed it's a hammy injury. Yeah, so we were still waiting from Murph. So yeah, he's confirming that. The other player I'll bring up here is I was gonna bring up Casas, but I'm gonna save him for the next round here. Wyatt Langford, if you haven't heard of him yet, I think he's going to be this year's Ronald Acuna in terms of coming on the scene as like a 9th or 10th round pick. And next year he's going to be drafted in the 1st and 2nd round.
Yeah, he went 7th in a main event over the weekend. 7th round, not overall.
7th round.
I was going to
say,
not overall, 7th round. And he got his first hit today in an RBI, and he's about to bat again.
Yeah, he is going to be really good. Obviously, he was just taken in this past draft. He's getting from drafted to the big leagues. He's that good, and he's going to be hitting in the middle of the World Series winning Texas Rangers lineup.
There's not an easy out on that team when they're at full strength.
No, there's not. But he's going to be hitting behind a lot of really good players to give him RBIs. He's got power. He's got speed. He's a 5-tool player. He is this year's Ronald Acuna, and I'm not the first person to say that, so I'm not going to coin that I'm the one saying that. But if you look at just everything he does, and you look at the type of hitter he is as sure a thing right now as there is as a prospect. And him not playing any minor league ball this year should show that already.
Let me ask you this, David. Compare him to Julio Rodriguez as far as how sure you were coming into baseball that he was going to be able to hit the ground running. Did you, in your mind, do you think Langford will have a better rookie season than Julio?
I'm trying to remember what Julio's rookie season numbers were.
I think 20, close. I think 30 home runs and 30 stolen bases
right now.
Yeah. The only reason why I bring that up is because everyone's on him. Everyone wants Langford at this point. And I felt people kind of felt the same way about Julio Rodriguez. Except Rodriguez's offense at that point was nowhere near as good as the Texas Rangers. So
I mean, that's one of the reasons is the lineup.
Julio Rodriguez, his rookie year, / 284, 345, 509, 28 homers, 75 RBIs, 25 steals, 145 hits, and 132 games.
I think that's fair. That could be a safe comparison.
That's his ceiling, would you say, for Langford this year? 25.
I think it could
28,
be
25.
I think it could be more.
Wowza.
Like his ceiling.
Yeah. Are you taking? Do you have money on him to win the Rookie of the Year?
I kind of was an idiot because I wanted to do one of the big parlays, like we did last year,
Yeah.
and you can't do that anymore. And I was going to put 3 of them together, and it was going to be Corbin Burns to win the American League Cy Young. It was going to be Wyatt Langford to win Rookie of the Year, and it was going to be AL MVP. I think I had Kyle Tucker. I think I had him as MVP, and I wanted to put it in, and I never did. And obviously now it's too late because he was like plus 800 at the time, and I didn't look. I'm willing to bet that his line is like it's either like plus 100 or it's negative money.
It was like plus 250 when I last looked.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say about Wyatt Langford, which is interesting with the Rangers, they just won the World Series and their window to win is short. Like when you look at their pitching staff and how old and injured they are, and yet they still won, and they're paying DeGrom, they're paying Scherzer, they're paying Eovaldi, like they're going to want to put the best lineup possible. They are not playing for the future. They are playing for now.
Yeah, that's why Langford's in there right now. Like they don't need to play for the future with him. Evan Carter, who's not on anybody's list, he was hitting cleanup for them in the World Series last year as someone that was a rookie. They have really good young players, but I'm telling you guys, Langford's just a different beast. Like he is again, like he's going to be the Corbin Carroll, the J-Rod and Bobby Witt. Like he's going to be in that thing for next year. Like he's either going to be I would not be shocked that if he's like taken where Corbin Carroll is this year, like that, like that type of, like he's that good. I'm telling you guys, like, again, I'm not the person here. That's the first one to say this. He is like, just watch this year. Just watch this year. Wyatt Langford's going to be incredible.
Okay.
All right, Doc, give us 2 more.
I'm going with a couple hitters. The first is at the catcher position, and I'm trying to get a lot of Sean Murphy, and we've talked about him in previous shows. And Marty and David, I know that you've referenced Frank Stample from CBS Pod that has mentioned kind of his inability with daylight and just kind of being able to see the Sean Murphy, just kind of being able to see the ball as well.
We were talking about are you sure it was Sean Murphy? That was Teoscar Hernandez.
Well, that's going to be my next person not being able to see the ball as
you
well.
You couldn't see it in Seattle.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to group them together. I know Sean Murphy had some issues.
Yeah, Sean, I can tell you. So once they got really deep into the summer in Atlanta, he was having trouble staying hydrated and focusing. He was getting like heat stroke, essentially.
Yeah. And I lumped him and Teoscar together because not only the first and second half splits, but the amount of games played, 66 games in the first half, 40 in the second half. I mean, his first half numbers, 306, 17 home runs, 55 RBIs, 97 runs plus RBIs. You'll take that, let alone from a catcher. And I don't see anything in the skill set that has made him regress, but I think the second half of him batting 159 with 4 home runs is what drove down his ADP. And Atlanta has a great lineup year in, year out. And I'm less worried about him as a handcuff there because Travis d'Arnaud is the backup. He's had concussion issues. I think they will play Sean Murphy more at DH. I mean, the year before he played 148 games with Oakland. So the fact he played 108 last year, I think you're getting him at a discount. And if you get anything close to what he did in the first half, that's number 1 catcher overall potential.
Mm-hmm.
So Sean Murphy's a big guy that I'm targeting. And, we had talked about Teoscar Hernandez, that being the second guy. I don't have much to tell you that, hey, it bodes well from this year to last year. We had mentioned getting out of T-Mobile Park where he documented that it was tough for him to see the ball. And he's going into a better lineup with the Dodgers. This is a guy that's 30 years old. He has the 30 home run upside. He has the counting stats surrounding him. I'm willing to take a chance on him. I understand the K rate has hovered around 30+% for his career. And if it proved me wrong this year, then he will probably be on my do not draft list. But if it doesn't click for him this year, then it will never click again. And where we can get him this year as opposed to previous years, I'm willing to take a flyer on.
All right. Fair enough. Marty.
Completely agree with Teoscar Hernandez. I have him in
Marty,
the infamous
Marty,
10-team league. So
Marty, we're agreeing too much.
I've noticed that.
Good for the listeners. That means they can know where they want to go with their.
Wait. Can we find out who else is in the 10-team league?
As far as like who else I drafted?
You're not gonna. Are you talking about his league mates?
Yeah, who he drafted in the infamous 10-team league.
Oh, who he drafted.
Go ahead. I have it right in front of me. Go ahead. Take a couple guesses.
I have no idea where to begin.
You don't have any Scooble anywhere. Obviously, you have your MySpace top 8. So
you have Logan Gilbert,
Santander.
I have neither of those in the top on my home league team.
So he in 12 and 15 team leagues he drafts these guys, but in a 10-team league he doesn't.
No, because I mean, in that league, it's an auction league that takes out average and puts in slugging. So I have Yordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker, Rafael Devers, Tristan Casas, your boy, Teoscar Hernandez, CES, who I can now. I know he was 0 for 4 today, but he looks good. And then so that's a more of a just strictly boppers league. But I have Teoscar there, and just to do mine because these two guys kind of fall in the same bucket for me: Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Mike Trout. Obviously, they're great baseball players, so it's to have them in my top 8 is kind of weird. But, and I think you guys may agree, there was a discount on both of them this year, more so than we've ever seen. And I think more and more people were questioning it. Can Vlad Guerrero can he hit home runs? Can Mike Trout? Is he still Mike Trout? Is he going to bat 230 and be injured? I don't know the answers to either of those, but for where they were going, I absolutely loved it. Vlad, I got him in the 3rd round of every 15-team league I could. And Mike Trout, I got him in the 7th round of a 15-team league in Glarf. He was mostly going around like the 5th or 6th round, but I'm fully bought in. I mean, they're two of the best hitters that I've personally have ever seen as far as Mike Trout with his contact rate. And Vlad, I think he hit a home run at was like 450 feet today. So like the power's there.
Yeah, that's what
I hope everybody I hope people bought into the dip and they're going to be to enjoy potential 1st round upside either in the 3rd or 4th round for these guys.
Who finishes higher at the first base position, Vlad Guerrero or Pete Alonso this year?
Vlad.
As like a 5x5 roto.
Does it change format for you at all? Like who you would pick?
I'm more concerned about average with, just for me it'd be Vlad. I think Vlad will.
So is there any format?
So how about this Razzball player rater? Well, at the end of the year, we can look back at it.
Because I have Pete Alonso as my number 2 first baseman this year behind Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
He's in a contract year.
Yeah,
he wants to get paid. He wants to get paid.
I love Pete.
Am I crazy that I don't like I don't love the Mets lineup around Pete Alonso. I have concerns about Francisco Lindor coming off offseason elbow surgery. I know it's just to remove bone spurs. Francisco Alvarez, you guys had your big debate on him when we did our catcher position.
Yeah, he's
Brandon,
my number 5
I think,
for catcher.
I just don't feel as good about the Mets lineup as I do about the Blue Jays lineup. And I think that provides a lot of context when you're talking about guys at the top of their position.
The Mets lineup I don't think is as bad as you're talking about.
I don't feel good about the Mets lineup at all.
It has your boy Starling Marte in it.
I mean, Starling Marte is great where he drafted him from, but I'm not. And I know they have my boy of last year, JD Martinez, but
yeah, they have JD Martinez in there too. Like I think you're sleeping on them a little bit. Doc.
I mean, I guess I'm giving this away. I have a lot of money on the Mets to not make the playoffs.
But that's the difference between them not making the playoffs and them still being a competent offense.
I mean, I do think the offense carries them, but I don't like that supporting cast around Pete Alonso. I think it's a bunch of meh guys outside of Lindor and that are unproven or that are just good players but not great. I think there's more depth in the Blue Jays lineup, but
I agree with that. Brandon Nimmo is an incredible and a very underrated leadoff hitter. So I do like Brandon Nimmo at the top of that lineup, and then Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso. Then it's going to be JD Martinez, then McNeil, then Marte. That's fine. That's a good top 6, top 7. But it's not as good as the Blue Jays. I completely agree.
Well, we will see when Polar Bear Pete finishes in the top 2 in first base,
which he easily could. I mean, we're splitting hairs between those two. It's like, do you want more bombs and less batting average? Go Pete. Do you want a little bit more?
I think there's more batting average in there than you're going to give him credit for, though.
248, 253. I think somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think last year he hit like 217 though.
Yeah, but that's right. But I mean, Vlad, we're talking. He could bat 280, 285. It's like that's a game changer for your batting average, especially because he plays literally every single day. You don't want to have to worry about batting average after the 10th round because you're not going to find it without destroying everything you have. And it's so easy because if you get a couple catchers who can hit home runs, but they're going to sink your batting average, you should have went with Vladimir Guerrero. Mm-hmm. Like Alonso's fine. He's going to get you those home runs, but you have to build around his lack of average. But yeah, if he hits 255, you're not going to complain at all. It'd be great.
Yeah. We'll keep it moving here. The guy I was going to bring up last round, what I'm saying for this round, Tristan Casas, who, if you didn't follow, had a phenomenal second half last year. These are across all MLB players, minimum 200 at-bats last year, or 200 plate appearances, 200 plate appearances, second half, all players. He ranked 5th in WRC+, 10th in batting average, 7th in OBP, 5th in slugging, 4th in OPS, 7th in ISO, and 23rd in barrel percentage. This is across all major league hitters. This guy really turned a corner the second half of the season. Just looked like a completely different hitter. Obviously, it was a very small sample. 49 plate appearances. Over his last 49 plate appearances, hit nearly 300 with a 15.4% barrel rate against lefties. The K rate was still a little bit high, but it's one of those things I think he's really worked on in the offseason. I think if he works on his aggression in the zone, he's going to be able to turn another corner this year. He's a popular breakout pick. And when you look into everything in his profile, you see why. So he's somebody that if you miss out on the elite first baseman early on, we talked about Vlad, we talked about Pete Alonso, there's Matt Olson. Like, he is a perfect guy to just sit there and wait and then snag him or have him as a corner infield, and you are going to be incredibly happy.
Yeah, that Christian Walker, Casas, Torkelson. Like, I'm okay with either of those three guys, if you miss out on the top dudes.
And as we've talked about in previous shows, first base is very deep this year.
Yeah, so you don't have to sweat it. Or again, like, take Casas and take Pete Alonso, and like that's a really good first base corner. Yeah, it's solid. The other guy I was going to bring up, I'll bring up Matt Wallner this round. He was elite power wise. They say he's kind of like a young man or a Joey Gallo light, but he actually is a better hitter right now than Joey Gallo, obviously. And it's incredible power. He's going to hit every day in the Twins lineup right now. This is a guy that was going after pick 300, and he has the power to give you 30 plus home runs. So any guy at that ADP that can hit you 30 home runs, his strikeout rate was high, obviously, which is why there's the Joey Gallo comparison of the walk, homer, strikeout type of thing with him. But he is a little bit better play discipline than Gallo did. And obviously Wallner was a rookie last year. Is he going to be a guy in a points league you should draft? Probably not. But is he going to be in a guy in a rota if you're looking for late power? Absolutely. Just the price on him is just way too good to not draft. All right, let's move on then to Doc's 5 and 6. Who you got?
I mean, this is really my 6 and 7 because I had Jeremy Pena, so I have one guy after these. The first is Nick Castellanos, and this is the guy that I was beating the drum from last year, and I don't think his ADP got the respect that it deserved from. I mean, he had 185 runs plus RBIs last year, which was the second most in his career. Number one was 2021 when he was in Cincinnati, albeit a greater ballpark. But if anything, that lineup got better. I do love the addition of Whit Merrifield. This was a team that was knocking on the door of the World Series again. And I think coming into last year, it was the first year after a decent-sized contract he had signed with the Phillies. He was banging through some injuries. I think he's just a great hitter. He's proven 25-plus home run upside, 4 years in his career. Great lineup around him. And outfield is shallow. And I feel like for the price that I've been getting him in our 12-team league, I think I got him in the 10th, 11th round. And in TGFBI, I got him in the 8th, 9th round. Yes, he's not going to steal you a lot of bases most years, but he had 11 last year. So, maybe he gives you 5 or 6, and that would be above than what he's given you most years from that perspective. So I love the discount I got on Castellanos again this year, and hoping he proves worthy of a title. And I actually got a couple of Griffin Jack shares before the Johan Duran injury.
One of the
and
best
I say that
right now.
And I say that because I love taking setup guys in the final rounds of draft and holds or TGFBIs, because you never know when they're going to go down, and they have the clearest path to a category that's going to help you out. I don't think when a hitter goes down necessarily there is a direct replacement or direct handcuff as there is with a closer and a setup guy. Remember, I touted Sionel Perez a lot last year, and that kind of backfired. But with Griffin Jacks, this is the guy that had a 2.86 expected ERA last year, a 3.17 expected ERA the year before. Last year, he had 3 saves. I'm double checking right now. 4 saves, 23 holds. The year before that, 1 save, 18 holds. He's been the guy next up in line. The Twins are the favorite to win the division, giving you great ratios. And even if Duran didn't get hurt, he would probably be the mix-in saves for when Duran needed an off day. So fortunate that it did happen that Duran gets hurt, and obviously never wish injuries upon anyone. But that's a guy right now that probably has top 10, top 12 round value, just because he is the clear closer, and with the injuries we've seen in that position.
This is something, and I can, again, Doc, I agree. Something I've done in my 15-team leagues this year more than ever. Instead of going for like a Patrick Sandoval, get an AJ Minter, right? Get someone who's going to go 70, 80, 90 innings with great ratios, get you, 70, 80 strikeouts, and best case scenario, someone gets hurt and he moves into the actual closing spot. So like your Jason Adam, your AJ Minter, Jax as well. I have him in a few spots. In those deep leagues, conserving your ratios instead of just getting some crappy fifth starter on the Angels, start to look that way, and then you may fall into some saves that way. I think Jax was going to get you 10 saves no matter what, even if Duran didn't get hurt. So I agree.
I mean, just talking about that guy, Chris Martin from the Red Sox, like when they had Chris Cotillo on from the Fantasy Baseball Beat, and he was saying that Chris Martin got some Cy Young votes last year, like under the radar. Very, very great year. Good ratios, had a couple save opportunities, but those are guys that are only going to help your team, and the ceiling for them is much higher. So that's what I've tried to do, my 29th and 30th round picks. Marty, I think you bring up a great point. Not to just take guys with a role like Patrick Sandoval that are going to get shelled, even though they're the ace for the Angels. That doesn't really mean much.
Yep, and especially as SP gets thinner and thinner and more volatile, why not take one of those free bullpen arms at the end of the draft where if it doesn't work out, you just cut them?
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, at the end of the draft, it's kind of when you can take those shots on certain people.
Your Jason Foley's got to save. For the listeners that don't know, driving in their car, Jason Foley for the Detroit Tigers in front of Alex Lang. They went with him.
Do you guys want to hear something really crazy?
I do.
I'm pulling up. I want to get the exact scenario for you guys. We just finished talking at Wyatt Langford, right? This is his first big league game.
Did he go yard?
No, they just intentionally walked him.
Huh.
But I'm getting the context here because I want to see what was the situation.
I would love to know how many players have gotten an intentional walk in their major league debut.
I'm telling you guys, he's a different.
I bet you Sarah Lang will be able to get that one. She's the only one I trust that could do that.
Hembo from ESPN, listen to this podcast and answer this question.
So it was the bottom of the 8th inning. Corey Seager singled. Josh Young grounded out, but he's at first. Adolis Garcia struck out. So it's 2 outs, a runner on first base, and they struck him out. Or I'm sorry, they intentionally walked him.
Who hits behind him?
Jonah Heim.
Heim. Over
Jonah.
But to get intentionally walked in your first game,
I do. That's a great stat. I wonder who. That's probably like someone like in 1913. Was like the last person where that happened.
Maybe Bryce Harper.
Maybe.
But it's not like one of
bad.
those things like where it's like, oh, we need, we have 1 out and someone on second, so we're gonna put
Right.
potentially put someone on first to get a double play. Like this was a respect. I'm gonna intentionally walk you. Like that is nuts. Hitting 5th in his big league debut, 1 for 2 with an RBI and a walk.
And the head coach makes that decision, right? So that's the Brewers' former head coach making that decision for the Cubs.
That
Interesting.
is, that is
The Craig Counsell.
Yeah, Craig Counsell. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. That is really cool. I will give you that. That's you won't often see that.
And his first hit was an infield single that he hustled. So there's the speed aspect too.
Well, his first at bat, he watched I think it was 6 pitches and he didn't swing at any of them and he struck out looking. But he can't do it all,
Yeah. Telling you guys now, if anybody that's listening has not done a draft yet, wherever he's going in your draft, you're gonna have to jump a couple rounds to make sure you get him. That's what I've tried to do, just so you don't miss out on him. Let's go ahead and let's finish this out with our last few guys here, just real quickly. Marty Party, give us your last 2.
This is my last one. Keibert Ruiz. So where he's going in the draft, he's overall 173. He's the 16th catcher off the board over the last month. He's a good average stabilizer. I know he's going to bat 4th or 5th in that crappy Nationals lineup, so there will be ducks on the pond for him in theory. 270, 280 average offset. Maybe the Jake Rogers you got, or the Cal Raleigh, or someone who just hits home runs and depletes everything else. The contact skills are really good. I don't know about the power. I think he got a little bit lucky. I expect about 15 home runs from him, around 60, 70 RBI and runs. And I like him a lot. And there's a guy right after him. So the 16th catcher off the board is Ruiz going at 173. The 17th catcher is going at 187. So nearly 100 picks later, I could see Luis Campusano and Keibert Ruiz having very similar stats at the end of the year, and you can wait an extra 100 picks. I have them both, but Keibert Ruiz I have in more drafts than I'd care to share with you two. Luis Campusano and Keibert Ruiz.
League?
No, that's who's my catcher in that league? Doesn't matter.
So all these people you're touting you don't own in the 10-team league. Right.
10 teams are a different ballgame because Keibert Ruiz, I'm not worried about average in that league because that's a slugging league and it's only 10 teams. But to answer your question, Wilson Contreras as my catcher for $2.
That's not bad.
Not bad.
All right, I'll close mine out. Zach Geloff is the most valuable in terms of where he's going, second baseman. 14 stolen bases last year to go along with, I believe he had 14 homers, 14 steals. And he's kind of ranked towards in the middle of the second baseman that you can get him at. He's going to play for Oakland where he's going to play every day. The guy that K rate a little bit high, 27% last year, but again, as a rookie, but the walk rate, very respectable, 8.7%. I don't think he's going to hit you 300, hit 267 last year with a 236 expected batting average. But if you're telling me this guy maybe hits you like 250 with a full season of plate appearances. So right now he had 300 in his rookie season. So if you play the rule of doubling it, which in a full season, that you're looking at what's probably safely going to be a 2020, potentially 25 player that you're getting there. So I think he's the best second base value out there, and I've tried to grab him as either a second base or middle infield target later in my drafts. And the other one being Yoshinobu Nabamoto, who I ranked as my SP5 going into the year. Does not look great to start, but I'm not going to back off a take just because of one outing. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I still think he's going to be really, really good this year. I just think he has to figure out his fastball is way too hittable right now. He's got to work on that. No one's touching his secondaries right now. I think it's going to get fixed.
Yeah, and anyone who's taken Yamamoto down is insane. I mean, that was basically a spring training game, right? You saw the starters maybe 3-4 innings. No one was stretched out. It was a week and a half before anybody else played. I mean, he does the travel, I would assume, from Japan to California probably more often than most people. So maybe going from California to Korea wasn't that crazy for him, but his stuff's incredible. He's going to be really good.
Yeah. Again, if he dipped, it's a good value to go jump on him. And Doc, finish us out.
My last one, Andrew Vaughn for the White Sox. I think somebody that's getting a discount because the team is bad, and the team is bad because the pitching has gotten worse. But the hitting, I mean, if Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert can stay healthy, I think the biggest attraction that I thought top of mind, Tim Anderson, but maybe that's better for the clubhouse. He's certainly outspoken, whether you agree with him or not. But last year, 147 runs plus RBIs in 152 games. Sir, you're not going to get any speed out of him, but somebody that has an everyday role. And up until this year, he was first base outfield eligible. Maybe you hope that he gets that back, but all the projections have him around 25 home runs, 145, 150 runs plus RBIs, and you're getting him at a discount. And I think with the White Sox, once again, we're discounting them a lot because of their management and because of their pitching. They had Garrett Crochet start today, but their hitting isn't as bad as the bottom third of the league like we make them out to be.
Agreed there. All right. Guys, I think that's going to wrap us up then. Our MySpace top 8, in under an hour, got through 24 players tonight. And I feel pretty good about it with now games again kicking off today. It's an absolute blast. I'm looking forward to breaking down things this season with you guys and Art, of course. And it's going to be great. Baseball is back. Let's go. If you guys are enjoying the stuff, though, make sure you guys, if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below for things you like or things you would like to see this season. If you're on the podcast version, a 5-star rating and review help. And you can also tell us what you like or what you'd like to see over there. And you can catch us on any podcast platform. And I think that's it. We are pumped to be back for the regular season. No more prepping, no more looking at NFBC ADP, no more projecting. It's all actually happening. I'm pumped. You guys are pumped. For Marty, for Doc, I'm D. Mendy. We're going to make like a bread truck and we're going to haul these buns. Talk to you guys next week.